To understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to do something first. You need to believe in the impossible. Can you do that?
What do you desire that you can't have?
Now you should at least give a brother a moment to say something heroically clever.
You're the boy from the circus.
So I have to sing with roles?
There's about a dozen ways that I could stop you right now. But I don't think I have to.
The staff chose me, and I choose you.
I started up a security firm.
Finally, a superhero team I can actually get behind.
In the future, my friends may not be heroes, but if we succeed, they will be remembered as legends.
Welcome to the DC TV report for the week ending Saturday, January 16th, 2021. I'm Little Eddie O'Hare, aspiring professional fanboy.
And I'm Sara Netzley, academic by day, writer by night.
We're here to bring you recaps, news, and commentary for all live-action television shows based on DC Comics.
And we have no new episodes this week. We have a retro pick, and of course, Ed, it's our swan song.
This is it. This is our final regular episode. I up front want to thank everybody for listening. This has been quite a journey, and this was a very tough decision that Sara and I came to end the show. And I thank especially Bill Sweeney, our executive producer, who, offered us Wicked Theory Studios and the platform. We were on a Skype call with him last night and are already planning reunions. So
don't you worry.
Don't you worry. The feed will still be open. And from time to time we may just pop in to talk about a new series that started or a movie that dropped. But this is going to be our last regular weekly episode.
So don't delete us from your feed entirely. Keep us around. When we have new content, we'll push that out in front of your eyeballs and your ear holes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So little bittersweet this week.
Yes, and we are part of Wicked Theory Studios, which has a patreon.com/Wicked Theory, which you could still feel free to contribute to. There will be new content coming out. There's a bonus podcast there called Ed Bonds with Bill, where I strap Bill Sweeney to a gurney and make him watch James Bond movies. We're out of James Bond movies, so I'm having him watch wannabe James Bonds. Most recently, John Stamos in the 1986 cult should-be classic, Never Too Young to Die.
I just love the way that's spiraling down into, does this person carry a gun, and is he slightly suave? It'll count.
And another bit of news that I was authorized to announce on this episode is that I am Wicked Theories is in the process of developing a new podcast, which I will be the focus of, called Aspiring Professional Fanboy. And it's going to be more in the style of a talk radio show. And we're going to be talking about all things geek news in movies, TV, and comics. So we're going to be covering a lot of what's going on in DC TV, but also Marvel and Star Trek and Star Wars and everything sci-fi, fantasy, geeky. We're gonna cover it all, and we're gonna get angry and we're gonna get excited, I can't wait to start it. I can't give you a launch date because we haven't figured that out yet, but I can also promise that the first episode at least will show up on this feed when it does drop. And
so again, stay tuned.
yes. And we've already arranged that our first guest will be our favorite Sara Netzley.
Aw, thanks. Yeah, so I'm not deleting any contacts from my phone here or anything. So yes, you try to keep me off that show on a semi-regular basis.
And I do want to point out we did have a lot of when I did announce this on Twitter, we did receive a bunch of gifts of people in all different states of disappointment.
To make that clear, that's GIFs, not presents. We did not receive
yes
tangible proof of
yes but the text reach outs we got was Ashley and Doug at River 8878 who just gave a frowny face and Bauer Fett offered to help her start a support group. At Deke273 Redbeard said don't leave us ! And at Bauer Fett gave the most eloquent message of the bunch, which is my sweet dear Sara, and that other guy, I will miss your weekly insight, especially once Lucifer next season hits. I hope you feel free. I hope you fill free time on Moving the Needle pod. P.S. She is his daughter. Not all family has to be by blood. And thank you for being part of mine. Oh.
That was really nice. Thank you,
Yes.
Bauer Fett.
Yes. So yeah, Sara, we do have some fun stuff planned. We have some lists, but before we do that, we should probably just get straight to business. Sara, you ready for the news?
Yeah, let's do it. So as has been the case in the last several weeks, not a ton of news, but we got some stuff for you. We got some fresh content. We're not going to let you down on this last episode. So let's start with news about the Arrowverse. We have no major crossovers planned this season. That shouldn't really surprise anybody, the way where they're trying to lock down casts and, keep testing and minimal extra people involved in production. So they were planning on a Batwoman, Superman, and Lois crossover this season. That clearly is not going to happen. They're not going to do even minor kind of crossover type things with any of the Arrowverse shows. They were already kind of planning on that. I think they kind of went out with a bang on Crisis. So they were never going to be quite as ambitious, it sounded like. But pandemic has just made it so we're not going to see anybody. Not even on like a Zoom call into the other team, which, all right.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should be thankful we're getting shows at all right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully that will get easier for them to produce throughout the year.
Yes, fingers crossed. Maybe next season we can see some, get new Batwoman out on the Kent farm or something like that. So, speaking of new Batwoman, looks like they're really doing the rounds with publicity and promo as we get ready to launch with a new lead character. And one thing that if you have followed the show at all, you know that Ed and I have been disappointed and at times critical of the decision to not just recast Kate Kane. And showrunner Carolyn Dries actually addressed it directly. She said that she considered recasting, but what she wanted to do was see what happens when a non-wealthy person picks up the Batmantle. That, Kate is wealthy, Bruce Wayne is wealthy. So what happens with somebody who didn't grow up privileged, doesn't have all those resources, starts to become a caped crusader? So Ed, does that make you feel better about?
I mean, I would say it's a good idea for a show, but I think this show that they've established to not recast Kate just leaves way too many dangling threads, and it makes it. I mean, it just seems like they're making it so hard for themselves as writers that it. I don't know. It seems impractical, but I can understand those motivations. And we're gonna find out that in about 48 hours. So.
That's true. It's really coming up. So yeah, if you are curious, if you want to see what comes of, all of this, it is premiering on Sunday. because we're getting that fresh CW content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one little bit of the Batwoman news. Otherwise, we have information that one of the major villains this season is going to be Black Mask. Looks like he's going to be coming in at the back half of the season, and there's no casting news yet. Astute viewers, listeners, and watchers will know Black Mask is the Ewan McGregor character from Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, and the fantabulous, way too long title of the movie I loved the most last year. So, Ed, what do you think? Black Mask, is that going to fit with Batwoman's vibe?
Yeah, I think that would be that could definitely be interesting. He's very different in the comics than Ewan McGregor portrayed him, so they could go a little bit more in that direction. He's not as outward and flamboyant, but he is very angry. And I'm guessing on Batwoman, he'll probably wear the mask more often.
Yeah, I would think so. Everybody on Batwoman seems a little angry, so that seems like that works. And then finally, EW released a first look at Sophia, the big bad for the first half of the season at least. She looks like a woman with lots of dark hair, so, there you go. She, of course, has a complicated history with Alice. I feel like at this point it's a dartboard, and this character has a complicated history with, throw the dart, Mary. So in this case it's Alice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Batwoman's back. It's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to The Flash. A little bit of casting news. John Core is going to recur as Mark Stevens, who is perhaps better known by his villain name, Chilblain. Is he a major, minor character of note?
I mean, he's not as prominent as Captain Cold, but
he sounds really similar though. It sounds like he's got the freeze powers or whatever. So
yeah. I think the main difference is that like they're actual like superpowers as opposed to just a freeze gun.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But the name right there, that's heavy metal right there, man. That's rock and roll.
Right.
Chilblain.
I love that chilblains are actual things that happen to you if you're exposed to cold but not freezing. I looked it up. It's sores that occur after you're exposed to cold but not freezing air. So I picture that villain being like, well, I'm named for. So, but John Core was in Shadowhunters, so there's maybe a crossover demographic there who might enjoy. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But what was interesting to me is that he's going to recur, so it's not like going to be a one-off villain, apparently, which that's noteworthy.
Cool. Yeah.
And then as we round out the CW news, inexplicably, we have more things to tell you about the Green Arrow and the Canaries spinoff that did not happen. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Oh no.
So before they officially called it, apparently they even shopped it around to HBO Max, which is going to be an important partnership. And HBO Max said, "Oh, honey, oh, baby, no."
Yeah, no. I think they're looking for cleaner stuff. Let's not make this convoluted. It's yeah. I think it was just the idea was just way too inside in the end. To think that it would hang on. So
well, and so complicated because it requires, the time travel thing, and it's just. And there was also an interesting exchange on Twitter where, there was some chatter about, I'm glad they finally made this decision, and Mark Guggenheim actually tweeted and said, no, the CW actually made this decision at the start of the pandemic. That's part of why it got pulled, was because of pandemic concerns. And so then the response was, why didn't you why have you been stringing us along for months and months and months? It's 2021. You could have let us know. And he said, it was the CW's decision. It was not ours. The actors knew immediately. Of course, we wouldn't know that from the way they were all just like, oh yeah, I would love to be involved. So, we've spent a lot of mental frequency on this when I suspect in March, everybody knew it wasn't moving forward.
Yeah. No. You just have to sit in your hovels and not tell anyone, not tell a soul.
But Mark Guggenheim also says he would totally write a comic about it if DC wants it. So.
Mm-hmm. And now that's something that could work. I can see them giving him like a 12-issue limited series.
to wrap things, because we have left it with William kidnapped, right? So it's not great for William.
Yes, that's true. Oh, yeah.
So that's the last you'll have to hear about Green Arrow and the Canaries from us.
Okay.
Moving on to HBO Max type news. Gotham PD. We reported that it was in kind of a showrunner shakeup. They found their new showrunner. It's going to be Joe Barton. I do not know Joe Barton's work. It looks like he has been involved in the Netflix show Giri Haji, and I believe Half Bad is upcoming. He's also got an upcoming Amazon Studios film, Invasion. He seems to be British. He's done some stuff with BBC4 and things like that. So nothing like a British dude coming in to give us hot takes on lightly fictionalized New York.
Gotham City.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gotham City stands alone. And I prefer the Chicago-based Gotham City myself, but that's because I'm, from Illinois. I like the Christopher Nolan Chicago vibe.
Yeah.
Then we also have a little bit of news about Peacemaker, and that is that it has started filming. Yay. What I thought was noteworthy was James Gunn actually wrote all 8 episodes, and he's going to direct a few. I didn't realize James Gunn was going to be quite that involved in this, and that perks up my interest a little.
Yeah, and the turnaround for this has been really, really fast. So he and John Cena must really love that character.
Well, James Gunn talked about in this article that he kind of started writing it in between things and projects. So it sounds like it's just something like a passion project for him, almost something that was just fun to do to fill his time. And he had the actor right there. They must really click. So that I can't think of a better origin story for a TV show than I'm a gifted showrunner, writer, or I guess not showrunner. I'm a gifted writer, filmmaker. I love this character. This is fun. I've just been noodling around with this. Let's see what we have. That to me sounds wildly interesting. So we will see.
Yeah.
And then closing things out with the sketchy news of the week. Netflix's The Sandman. There is a report at the website Discussing Film that Gwendolyn Christie has been cast in The Sandman, and it's been picked up by some of the slightly bigger blogs like Comic Book Resources and things like that. I want this to be true so badly because Gwendolyn Christie, of course, our queen from Game of Thrones, who played Brienne of Tarth. She was also what was that? Silver Stormtrooper from the new Star Wars movies. What was her name?
Yeah. General something.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not gonna dwell on that. Yeah. Her appearance is one of the things that just infuriated me about Last Jedi.
Really?
Well, just because it came out of nowhere. It just everything about. I felt like everything about that, like half of the story, felt very contrived to me, and it just didn't jumble. And I was just like, could we please get back to Luke and Rey? But
I didn't understand why you'd cast Gwendolyn Christie and then not do anything with Gwendolyn Christie. So that was my take on it.
Evidently, like J.J. Abrams didn't know she was cast until filming started, and then was just apologizing to her the whole time for not writing it up more.
I did not know that. That's hilarious. Respect Gwendolyn. So that may or may not come to pass because, like I said, it's not in Variety, it's not in Deadline, it's not in EW. So we'll see, but that would be amazing. There's a couple characters that haven't been cast yet. They mentioned one of them is Death. I have still not read Sandman. I don't know that Gwendolyn Christie feels like a good fit for Death based on what I know, but hey, man, Netflix works in mysterious ways. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
And that's the news.
Okay. All right. So, random news. We didn't have any episodes. That means we had a retro pick. Sarah, let's travel back one last time to 1941 for Adventures of Captain Marvel. Chapter 11, Valley of Death. Billy swam out of the shipwreck and carried Betty to safety. While the group relaxed in Kandapur, the Scorpion sent word ahead to Raman Bar to set a trap. After Captain Marvel foiled the trap and the expedition headed into the tomb of the Scorpion, Barr had his men divert river water to cause Scorpio to erupt. Last minute reveal, the eruption caused the tomb to collapse on top of Betty, Whitey, Malcolm, and Bentley. Adventures of Captain Marvel. Last chapter, Captain Marvel's secret. Captain Marvel rescued Betty and Whitey from the rubble, and one rich white guy shot the other. The Scorpion witnessed Cap transform back into Billy. Talsha Tally tried making a case to the natives, but ended up in shackles. Last minute reveal. With Professor Bentley unmasked as the Scorpion and killed, the lenses melted, and Captain Marvel gone to rest, Billy, Betty, and Whitey left the cheering natives to head home.
They really wrapped that up, didn't they? I did not expect these people in the 40s did not know how to sequel bait.
Oh, sequels. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that was never a concern. Although I will say the fact, because there was not a sequel, I am very thankful that this all wrapped up and it is one complete story. And, Billy Batson can walk away, and for the next years, just, think back about those 6 months when he was Captain Marvel.
Although I got the sense he wasn't going to have, because he came to with just like what happened? What was that noise? Whitey, gee willikers, what are you doing here? Betty, what? So, I don't know about his memory. I truly didn't expect it to end like that. I really didn't think they would put that neat a bow on it and just be like, well, the power is dormant now. So, dang, it was, what a nice little 12 episode run of story.
Yeah. And I feel like these last 2 chapters are action packed. You had a lot of
good effects. Good effects.
Yes. Really, really good effects. You had cars, jumping over mountaintops, although that one effect was a little much.
Oh, well,
but
I mean, it's fair.
The tree that's in the middle and Captain Marvel has to lift it up. You have him flying and jumping around, taking down white guys in turbans. And the earthquake, I thought diverting the water, I thought you had some really great miniature effects that was good that were going on there. With Scorpio and the volcano. Lots and lots of stuff to enjoy. So chapter 11, in the beginning, when we see, were you surprised that Billy didn't transform into Captain Marvel, that the boat went down and he was just, I'm just going to swim back?
Yeah, I that's not a choice I would have made if I had those powers at my beck and call. But, Billy made his choice. I just love everybody around the campfire just like, we're going to have us some dinner. We're going to settle down. And where's Betty? Where's Betty after all? Where'd that dame get to? Good grief. It took him until after sunset.
Yeah, someone's going to have to cook this stuff. Hey, where's the woman?
Exactly. There's only 10 people. They should have noticed sooner before they were looking for somebody to brew them all coffee or whatever was going on there. So.
Never mind. I don't remember Billy getting in the raft. So how the hell did he get here?
I also love that the flying scene that happens in this episode, I think, is the same flying scene they've been using in the credits. So.
Yes.
They definitely reused it. I also kind of wondered if they gave him a trampoline to spring off of as he leaps to fly. I'm always charmed by the flying. Always.
Yes, and that's correct. Dave Sharp was the stunt man, who's in the Captain Marvel costume for most of the stunt work. And he's actually Tom Tyler, the actor who plays Captain Marvel, was 6'4", and Dave Sharp was about 5'8".
What?
Yeah. But the way they figured out is if you were to capture him in the suit, the way they place the cameras, as long as he's moving really fast, you don't really notice the height difference.
Sure.
And for all of the takeoffs and landings, there was a trampoline that and there were no trampolines that small in 1941, so they had to build it on their own.
So they could have gotten in on the personal fitness trampoline craze and just made a ton of money.
Yeah. And very similar to the kind of takeoffs that George Reeves would do in his Superman series in the 50s. Although the effects on that are not great, and the actual him in the air is usually just like animation. The flying effects in Captain Marvel are far superior. But yeah, and
but I thought it was worth reusing the flying scene because they got the cave-in stuff and the volcano. It was impressive again for the time and the presumed budget they were working with. Well done. I also like the thought of all those horses that they were using to roam around the desert being turned around the next week and used for some kind of Western, because that happened in that era in the Hollywood studio system.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, they kept stables. That's why there were so many Westerns, is because they were, because they were doing all those Westerns, they were able to maintain those horses. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And getting into chapter 12. So, when one white guy turned on the other and, they both went into, their faces were hidden in black shadow. Were you able to tell which one shot the other, or can you still not tell them apart anyway?
God, no, I still can't tell them apart. And I wasn't sure if I was just like, should I be able to tell at this point? Or were they, because I thought the obscuring the faces was really clever as a way to draw out just a little more tension. But I thought, I wonder if I'm supposed to be, because those are just two dudes in suits. Yeah. But I enjoyed the technique of that.
Yeah, and I love the twist that the Scorpion finally catches a glimpse of Cap transforming into Billy, and that's how he figures out the secret.
And he's just like, I don't know, is it drugs? Is it steroids? Is Billy on steroids?
Is there a device? We got it. And when they capture all three people, Billy's the only one who's gagged. Which I thought was weird, but I thought that was clever. We don't know what happens, but we just know we gotta shut his mouth anyway.
Just in case, you never know. Cut off all avenues.
Yeah, and that car chase as Betty and Whitey are trying to get away from the natives. I thought aside from that one jump over the hill, which you could tell it's clearly a model. I thought everything else was really well done. I thought it was a well put together action scene. And there's something, a lot of movies now, they go for these extreme close-ups and it ruins the geography, and you can't tell where everyone is in relation to each other. And I thought, that was not a problem with this scene.
Yeah, you could track the progress and the motion and the where X is in relation to Y, for sure. I also love immediately preceding that scene, Whitey saying, "Let's get out of this joint," about the ancient tomb. It was tonally jarring to me.
Yeah, he's just ready to go home for a soda pop.
I also love that Billy tried to move a rock on his own. He comes into the cave and is like, "Oh, I gotta help out." And so he goes to pick up the rock. He's like, wait a second, I can't do this. The job for Shazam.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, "What are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
You're just wasting time. Why are you trying this?"
Yeah, and one good thing, we got confirmation now that Tal Shitali actually is a good guy, which to me makes him like one of the coolest people in this serial,
and one of the most maligned with side eye.
Yes. To me, that makes his performance very funny. He's like a boss. He's like an OG in the show. And that showdown with the other white guys in turbans, trying to make the case to the natives. And you could see that they respect him, but we're like, oh, come on, man. You know, we just want to kill these guys, you know.
I was braced for really, really terrible white people playing people of color, and it wasn't great. I'm never going to recommend this for its inclusion and diversity, but it could have been worse.
Yeah. I it was not offensive. I would say that they're not leaning into accents or anything like that. You know, you know, everyone kind of like holds themselves with a certain level of respect. It's no, like if you watch the first Batman serial from 1943, the bad guy in that is a horrible Asian stereotype, and you know that's with like the taped up eyebrows and the squished lips, and the strange accent, and it was yeah, and I you know, and you know, while it's not culturally what happens in Captain Marvel, while it's not culturally appropriate today, I would not say it's offensive.
I was braced for much worse. That's all I'm gonna say. So, and of course, the end lesson is the white man is good.
Well, you know, sometimes. I thought, you know, unmasking, it was Bentley. The fact that it was Bentley the whole time. All right, now I gotta say something here.
Go on.
Bentley ends up being the last white guy standing, the last rich white guy standing. And we found out, you know, and if you know the voices, you could tell it was him that shot Malcolm. Just because you just hear Mr. Malcolm screaming the whole time. You know, I'll give you anything, whatever you want. However, remember back in like chapter 9, when Captain Marvel was chasing the Scorpion, or maybe it was chapter 7 or 8. But Captain Marvel was chasing the Scorpion through his like underground caverns. And the mask came off and he reached for it, and Sarah, I asked if you freeze framed it.
Yes. Was that Bentley under there?
If you freeze frame it, I would swear that's Mr. Malcolm.
Interesting. Do you think they did that on purpose? Well, no, you didn't have freeze frame back in the day, so
no.
They wouldn't have done that to throw people off.
Yeah, they figured it just happened so fast, and it might not even be Mr. Malcolm. It might just be like another stunt guy.
I like the thought that actor was the one who was on set that day, and they were like, just put on the just put on the costume. You're here. We're not gonna pay Bentley to come back. Just put it on. Yeah.
But like, you know, I was still able to pause the VHS as a kid and see that I think that's Malcolm. So I had this whole convoluted thing in my head as a 4 or 5-year-old, thinking like maybe it was originally Mr. Malcolm. And he did all the stuff with Barnett and the gangsters and rally them up. And then once they got back to the Valley of Tombs, the spirit of the Scorpion that had possessed him decided, no, screw you. I'm gonna go into Bentley. And that's why Bentley ends up in the mask at the end. Maybe a little much. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's how I was able to explain it in my head.
I mean, that works. I would say the Scorpion are just the friends we made along the way. So, you know.
Or, you know, the enemies, you know, although
right.
I will say Captain Marvel's body count about doubles the Scorpion's in this serial.
Who's the good guy and who's the bad guy?
Yeah. And in the end, Ramen Bar, when he sees that, oh, the Scorpion's just another white guy, gets a conscience and uses the lenses to zap him into oblivion. Did you love how they created that other character who was going back and forth, who was supporting Tal Shitale just so that they could kill off somebody else with the lenses?
They just really redshirted a lot of people.
Yeah. And in the end, Captain Marvel melts the Scorpion, and the lenses, in Scorpio, and the power leaves Billy, and our guys get to go home, get to drive off into the sunset, and presumably Tal Shitali is probably gonna take over and become the mayor of the Valley of Tombs, and start running things. And and everything goes up. Everything ends up happy, except for
So
Bentley.
wait, and he got what he got, So Whitey, Betty, and Billy just live happily ever. Do they just go home and are just like, okay, well, that was weird.
Yeah. I mean, well, Billy has his radio show, but Whitey and Betty are unemployed. So, yeah. And it's, I mean, this was coming out in the spring of 41. So they're probably, Billy and Whitey are probably going to get drafted next month, drafted in the next year.
That is dark. That's skewed dark. And then we just go to Saving Private Ryan. We just pivot straight to that.
Yeah. So yeah. And just to, Louise Curry, who plays Betty, lived to be 100 years old. And she passed away within the last decade. I think she got married and left acting, and became a happy housewife. And Whitey was played by William Benedict, who later became a member of the Bowery Boys. I don't know if you're familiar with the Bowery Boys, but that was a long series of films just about a bunch of scrappy. It was a kid show, kind of like a teenage version of the Little Rascals.
Okay.
And he was made a bunch of those movies in the 40s and 50s. And was had some stable TV work, all through the next few decades. And Frank Coughlin actually joined the Navy during World War II and stayed in the Navy and became he was a lifelong Navy man into the 60s, and did show up in TV again, just in small roles. He has a cameo in one episode of the Shazam TV show from the 70s. And wrote an autobiography in the 90s called They Still Call Me Junior, which was all about him working as a kid actor, and includes his work as Captain Marvel. So yeah. All three of those actors ended up getting a happy ending.
So the 6'4" fella went into the Navy?
No. Frank Coughlin played Billy Batson. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so my both my grandfathers were in the Navy in World War II, and my grandpa, my paternal grandpa, talked about you couldn't have tall dudes on submarines because they would for sure knock themselves out on the low doors. Like, he told stories about the guys over 6 foot would just ring their own bells as they were trying to scramble for drills and things. I was trying to picture the Captain Marvel actor on a submarine just conking his head left and right. So anyway,
yeah.
World War II Navy fanfic I just came up with there.
Yeah, Tom Tyler died young. He passed away in the 50s of a heart attack. While he did work as an actor after this. This was probably his most prominent role. He also played the Phantom in a serial. I don't know if you're familiar with that comic strip character. And is probably forever known to film school students as the bad guy at the end of Stagecoach.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. I have a real fondness for this serial. And I'm so glad that we were able to cover it on the show finally.
This did not quite make my top 5 that we're going to do here at the end, but getting to watch or getting to hear you enjoy watching this was a highlight for me. It was a lot of fun getting to hear your childhood memories and your enthusiasm for it. So that was my favorite part of this.
All right. So yeah. So that's the retro pick for this week. That's the last retro pick we're gonna do on DC TV Report. So now we're gonna have a little fun, and we're gonna do some lists. And first, Sarah, you put together a list of the 3 worst moments in DC TV that we covered on the DC TV Report in the last few years.
And honestly, this was not something that I went through and, worked really hard on. It was just kind of top of mind. What were the things that disappointed me the most? And I gotta say, number one was well, I'm in no particular order. I'm not gonna rank these. Krypton, just all of Krypton. I really tried. I tried with Krypton. There was no. It had that handsome dude playing the Superman dude, and it just didn't. It just never. The people involved really were excited about it, and it left me so cold. So for me, the whole experience of Krypton was very disappointing. Another low for me. I actually expanded to 4. Just I'm gonna shake things up a little bit. Was of course the Hawk people, the charismaless, inexplicably shoehorned in Hawk people who just keep coming. Good riddance.
I'm telling you, there's a great love story there if they ever hit that right.
And maybe I was responding to the missed potential there. I don't know. But, anytime a Hawk person came on screen, I just wanted to cannot let this go without, and I feel like, and I'm going to apologize to Bauerfett on this, but she's not his daughter. And I'm waiting for it.
She is not his daughter!
Which is my stand-in kind of for how they did Quentin Lance dirty. Like, I just feel like I don't know, his character got dumber, and I don't know. It kind of stands in for the way they wanted things to happen in a narrative in certain shows, and they made the characters do things that didn't always make a ton of sense or behave in ways that it's like, I understand she looks like your daughter, but you're doing things. But Bauerfett has a good point that, family is found. It's what you make, but she's not his daughter. She's just not. She's just not his daughter. And last on my list, and this should surprise nobody who's tuned in even a little bit, is Iris West, journalist.
Oh, she tries,
but you can't just start you can't just have a blog. You can't just take a class and have a blog and then create a newspaper in 2020. It doesn't work.
Yeah. All 3 of her employees.
Oh my God. So that was my bottom 4. Just like I said, I didn't go through it and do a comprehensive scraping of all my notes to be like, oh, in this moment, just my general impressions where I wish Krypton had been better. Why are the Hawk people still here? Why is Quentin acting like that? And Iris, no, stop. Stop
it.
My journalistic ethics, Barry. No.
All right, those are the 4 most disappointing moments that we covered on DCTV Report. So yeah, and now we're gonna go into our top 5s, and Sarah, you and I each have a top 5. And just to clarify, the rules for what we're gonna do real quick, which distress Bill Sweeney, but
Bill
think
did not want us to have rules.
Yes, but I think it's the most efficient way to go for this in case we have overlap. We're going by Matt Gorley's method, and Matt Gorley and Matt Myra, if anyone familiar with the James Bonding podcast. So basically, we'll start at 5 and then move to 1. And if one of us, if there's something that's on both of our lists, the other person who has it will say, wait to talk about that, and we'll talk about it when it gets to the higher seed. So Sarah, if my 5 is your 2, when I say it,
we're going to put a pin in your 5 and you're going to talk about it with my 2.
Exactly.
And we have not discussed these with each other. So we do not, I don't know. We could have identical lockstep lists. It's possible. We've spent some time together over this podcast, Ed. So we could just be on the same brainwave. Let's find out.
Yeah. So Sarah, do you want to flip for first? Do you want to just claim a spot? Do you want me to go first? How do you want to do
what? You go first. You go, and then we can rotate. You go first with 5, I'll go first with 4, and so forth.
Oh, okay. Oh, ooh, we're snaking this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Serpentine. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. So my number 5 moment that we covered is Crisis. Just all of Crisis. All 5 of those episodes that we covered in the CW Arrowverse. The idea that one of the most complex but important comic book storylines from the 1980s got to play out on television. And all of the main points, the Monitor, Harbinger, and the Anti-Monitor, all that stuff, Barry Allen sacrificing himself, and the Spectre coming in and reigniting the universe, all of that, the fact that we got to play out is something I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime on television, and it was fascinating to watch unfold in live action.
That is an excellent choice. It did not make my list, but I really did consider it just for the sheer ambition of it. But I didn't have the comic lore to back it up. So it's nice that you chose that one, because it does, I think, especially for people who read and loved those arcs, or that arc, those storylines, that was an ambitious project.
Yeah, and also the way they integrated all of DC movies and TV that had come before. We got to see Burt Ward, even if it was for a second. We acknowledged the Michael Keaton Batman stuff. Brandon Routh got to play Superman one more time. And John Wesley Shipp, got one last ride as the Flash. I thought all of that was amazing, and the way they set it up for how this multiverse is going to work going forward. If Walter Hamada isn't assassinated. Yeah,
good choice. Yeah. My number 5 was when we sort of unwittingly got involved in the fight to save Lucifer. Because, the show was canceled on a pretty big cliffhanger on Fox, and it was going to be hard to say goodbye, just as Chloe found out Lucifer's secret and finally accepted that what he said all along was true, and then they canceled it. And somehow, I don't know, Rachel Harris, who plays Dr. Linda, and I follow each other on Twitter, and she was a fan of my EW recaps, and so she tweeted out our show or something, and so we got this cavalcade of emails and tweets and things from people who thought we had the power somehow to save Lucifer. So there was so much passion and so much outpouring of support for that show, and that I think helps explain why Netflix picked it up ultimately, because there was so much support for it and so much, how can you do this to us now, when it was just like we were just getting to the good stuff. So our tiny little involvement, not that we saved it, but just that we got to see how much people love that show. We got kind of a front row seat to that, and that was really cool. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I would also add on top of that, a big reason I think the show got picked up is the support that the movement got from William Shatner, who, as someone, who starred in a science fiction series that was canceled too early, to see him take up the torch for all of these other shows that get canceled, that were canceled, like Lucifer and The Expanse and stuff like that, to see him at the forefront of those campaigns. Always brings me a smile. Though I know, Sarah, you're not as much of a fan of his, but that's okay.
William Shatner's use of his platform is fascinating to me. Just fascinating.
Cool. Okay. So, what's your number 4?
Okay, my number 4, and you touched on it a little bit with your number 5, but my number 4 is just getting to see some of the excellent casting of iconic characters. And that can go so right or so wrong. But you mentioned Brandon Routh getting to play Superman one more time. I think Tyler Hoechlin's choice as Superman also is so excellent, getting to see those two characters. They're different versions of Superman. And then John Cryer as Lex, I think, is one of the best Lex interpretations I've ever seen. So over the seasons that we've been covering, there've been some amazing casting choices for these larger than life characters that's so hard to step into those shoes. And that's not to say, and of course all the leads of the shows, right? Benoist as Supergirl, and Gustin as Barry, all of those great. But just some of these kind of one-off, or they come in as villains or foils or this or that. They just have really nailed some of the casting of these huge characters we all grew up with in comics and movies and other pop culture properties. And they just, your Cryers, your Rouse, your Hoechlins, they just came in and crushed it. So I really enjoyed the iconic casting that they've done.
Yeah, yeah. I would also point out I think Supergirl used Linda Carter much more effectively than Wonder Woman did in her appearance.
Concur. Good point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So my number 4 is from Doom Patrol, season 1, episode 7, Therapy Patrol, and it was Admiral Whisker's revenge. Just that whole moment where Cliff, Robot Man, is going crazy and then collapses, and then that rat crawls out of his mouth, and you realize that it was revenge for when Cliff ran his family over with the bus, and just shows how bonkers and strange that show is. I think that was the perfect illustration of it, of what you can do with Doom Patrol.
And the other thing that Doom Patrol did with that moment for me was it was sad. Like, they made me feel bad for that rat and his family. Like, they made me feel emotions, and then I was like, oh, but he's been controlling the robot. That's a really good choice. I'm going to cheat and do a runner-up. I almost chose Danny Patrol because that karaoke scene with Larry singing People Like Us is, I've gone back and watched that a number of times because it's so joyful and so sad. And again, that's very much Doom Patrol, right? Weird, joyful, sad, makes you feel every range of human emotion. So, God, Doom Patrol is good stuff. I'm excited for that to come back.
Yeah. All right. My number 3, and this is where I think we might have some overlap, is Watchmen. Episode 6, This Extraordinary Being, where we found out Hooded Justice was black.
Let's put a pin in that, because I'm
Okay.
going to talk about Watchmen later. So let's discuss that when we get to the higher number for me. How does that work?
Sure. Yeah. What's your number 3?
Okay. My number 3 is anytime you did an accent. You're New York Italian. You're Michael Caine. You're so good at the accents. And anytime there was a reason for you to slip into one, I was so happy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I try. And sometimes
Do the Michael Caine one more time. Do the Michael Caine one more time.
the size of a tangerine. A ruby the size of a tangerine.
That just makes me happy. And that friend of the pod at Tanya Melendez, my buddy, didn't tweet us or email or write in or anything, but she verbally expressed to both Ed and me last night that her favorite thing are Ed's fake theme songs, which I feel like goes along with this.
So okay, all right. Well, if that's the case, then let's put in a little bit of. Well, actually, no. It's gonna be as I'm talking right now. You will hear a bunch of string of all of those.
Sweet tooth music.
All
Do
of
you
those
have
clips
one
playing
that's a
under me.
favorite? Do you have one that you are especially proud of?
Superman and Lois. Music.
My favorite one is
Green
at a
Lantern
certain point
music.
when I stopped just doing music and then
Justice
doing the humming of the music. I decided to put a little extra spice on it, and probably my favorite is the DMZ music one, which is playing right now.
Music,
where it's just a little extra angry, and puts that DMZ music.
You know that's what it's going to sound like.
Yeah. All right. And your number. I think, Sarah, we're up to your number 2.
My turn with number 2. One of my favorite parts of this podcast has been us tracking the rise and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall of Y the Last Man. And I love that we're getting out before Y the Last Man actually premieres. It might not still. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably going to be something we're going to have to come back for. But
I think we're going to have to come back and at least talk about the pilot, right?
Yeah. Well, I just at a certain point, it's like, come on with this show. Just tell me it's not happening. Just tell me it's not happening. And it's like, no.
But
We
right
told
now it's happening. Like, as far as we know, it's going to happen. I don't trust it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Evidently, they're like filming right now. They reshot the pilot, with a completely new cast. But it wasn't canceled before. We just changed the cast and the writers and the showrunners.
And the title wasn't it going to be just Y and they changed it to, I mean, like everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this cursed production.
Yeah. Someone at FX's SEO stood up and said, "Listen,
do not do this to us." But this is the show where the cast all flew to, I guess, LA, where they were going to film. They showed up to set for the first day, like, "I'm here. I've got my lunch. I'm here. It's my big break, mama. It's my big break." And they got there and there was a sign on the gate that said, "Closed for COVID, go home." Like, that was that week that it happened. So it's just, the story of Y: The Last Man has been so much fun and awful, like terrible for everybody. But
yeah. Well, remember, in that whole time that we've been going back and forth with this, The Last Man on Earth premiered, had like a 3-season run on Fox, and then was canceled. So, so the name was going to clash with another series, and took enough time for that show to build up a following, and then go away, and they could get the original name back. So,
just wild.
Okay. My number 2 is from the Legends of Tomorrow season 3 finale, The Good, the Bad, and the Cuddly, and it was when the Legends formed Bebo.
Oh, that's a good choice. That was so weird and so keeping with the Legends.
Yeah, to me that was the most bonkers. I showed that to my sister and my brother-in-law, just that episode. And just the idea that, it's Jonah Hex is running a Western town, and then you have Vikings and Romans all descend on the town, and there's a giant dragon demon, and they fight him by forming a 6-foot tall stuffed animal.
Well, it really brought in the themes of the season and some of the villains of the season. For a goofy show, it's thoughtfully put together.
Yeah, and to me that was like its peak, and the show's been great since then. But I don't think they've quite matched the absurdity and the fun of that moment.
How can you top the giant Bebo?
Yeah. All right, and
number 1.
My
drum roll.
My number 1. And this is a very personal one, but it's and I think people are going to be surprised by the show it comes from, but it's Titans season 2 episode 2, Connor, which is where we first meet Superboy and Crypto after they've escaped from Cadmus, and the journey getting from Cadmus to Titan's Tower. I thought that was one of the best superhero origins I've seen on TV, and all of the heart and emotion that went into that episode, and seeing as he's this scared child with the mind of a child who's really had conscious existence, whose conscious existence is maybe a day or two old, but has all of this power. And that episode really spoke to me. And the one thing that's personal is that clicked with me is the little theme music that they gave that character happens to match the theme music from the Superboy TV show that I loved as a 4-year-old, as a 3 and 4-year-old. Which starred Hayden Christensen, and which was banished from reproduction for about 15 years. Because that was when the Salkind still had the rights, and DC snatched it back. And I was fighting with people, trying to convince them that the show actually existed.
I'm sorry, did you say Hayden Christensen?
Not Hayden Christensen. Gerard Christopher.
Okay. I was gonna say they really hit it well. If there was a Hayden Christensen, okay, good. Just Gerard, and that's the one where they recast between season 1 and 2, right? That's the Superboy.
Yes. And Gerard Christopher played him in seasons 2, 3, and 4, and seasons 3 and 4 especially. If you go back, it is very kooky, and cheap, but he brings a lot of heart to the role, and so so that episode of Titans really reminded me of that show. And also, I just think on its own, I think that was the best story arc that series has had so far.
Well, the instant you said Titans, I guessed that's what you were going to say, because that was my favorite episode of Titans, hands down, and that was one of my favorite episodes of TV that year. Because I agree, it showed the way people with superpowers sometimes balance on that razor's edge, right? That you can go good or you can go evil, and it kind of depends on a lot of things: nature, nurture, self-control, how your temper is that day. Yeah, that was a beautiful episode of TV. That's a really good choice. Also, the old school Superboy TV show is streaming on HBO Max? ? Because it was streaming on DC Universe.
It was on DC Universe. I don't know how much of the library that they've migrated, so it might not be right now, but it definitely will be soon if it isn't.
So worth checking out in the future.
Yeah.
And then,
all right, Sarah.
My number one, and obviously I think you know where it's going to go because we put a pin in yours. Was that number 4 for you?
It was my number 3.
Number 3. Okay. For me, my number 1, and this is a little bit more global than yours, but we can talk about both, was the joy of discovering what a masterpiece Watchmen was, that we didn't really know what to expect going into it. And as it unfolded every week, I started to become really aware of and in awe of what it was doing and how well it was doing it and how movingly and emotionally it was doing it. And another thing that I really liked about this show is that you and I disagreed over the ending. I loved the ambiguous nature of that ending, and you were not as fond of it, but it just showed the way the show was able to reach people and move them and shake them and just sort of have those different visceral reactions to the way it went down. Masterpiece is what I'm saying. And if I had to choose a favorite episode, I actually slightly prefer the penultimate episode of God Walks Into a Bar to This Extraordinary Being, but they were both brilliant, flawless, moving. Yeah, my number 1 was just watching this show unfold and us realizing like, oh, we can't be quippy about this the way we are with like Iris on the Flash. This is art. This is art. So, Watchmen. Now you say things about yours.
yeah, it's heavy, bro. Yeah, and I can say I got to rewatch the weekend that the finale aired. I was visiting my sister Irene and my brother-in-law Mike, and I got to rewatch the first 8 episodes with them. Over the course of a whole weekend, and seeing them get engaged with it and talk about that, that whole feeling was really cool, and particularly this episode, just the idea that you could take one simple idea: what if Hooded Justice was black instead of white, and the way they crafted that and still had it make sense with the comic. I thought that was just brilliant. And the idea of, because if you read the original book, race isn't really what it's about. It's about, it's about nuclear proliferation. It's about, the insanity that people put themselves through worrying about the bomb. And to decide to take one small element of that and bring it into a whole different light, I think is the real genius of this series. And God damn it, Damon Lindelof, we need you to do another season, because Watchmen is playing out right now and we need someone to fix it.
Oh, imagine. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the way they were able to graft superhero stories and these over the top, wild storylines and characters and twists with actual real history that was really undertaught and undercovered, right? To kind of bring a national spotlight to the Tulsa massacre and things like that. That was so great. That was so brilliant to be able to do that. So, as you say, just the social awareness, the comic book tropes, we got to see, what's his name in the Watchmen panties. Like it was all there. It was all good. It was all beautiful. So thank you, Watchmen. All
right. So yeah, those are those are our favorite moments from our time. Sarah, this has been so much fun. We have one last bit of business to get to, which is our final winners of the week.
And now I'm wondering if we have the same winner. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go first, and my winner's
Okay.
Tal Shatali.
Oh no, we do not have the same winner of the week.
Okay, because I feel like in these last two episodes he redeemed himself. And going back, if you know the outcome of the series and you watch him, John Davidson is the actor who plays him, and I just feel like he's a boss and he's like the king of style in that serial. And and he's the guy who keeps the natives from killing our heroes. And actually gets them cheering and gets to explain at the end what happened to Captain Marvel's powers.
He was good. He was there to be like, no, they went away. They went home.
So Tal Shatali is a boss.
I completely broke the rules this week, so Bill will approve that there are no rules, just right here at the end. But my winner of the week is me, because I got to do a podcast with Ed for 3.5 years. Genuinely, yes. I mean that. My winner of the week is me, because I got to talk to you every week about TV and comics, and I got to hear your expertise and the things that excite you, and I've learned so much, and it's been so much fun. So that I feel like I'm coming out a winner here. I am so grateful. Bill Sweeney found me on Twitter when I was recapping Preacher for Entertainment Weekly. It must have been in 2017. And I don't know, we just kind of started chatting, and I guest starred on Preacher versus Preacher, and I called into Preacher versus Preacher, and it kind of went from there. So I feel very lucky that a quirk of fate threw one of my tweets in front of Bill's face, and it led to this. So yeah. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, and this has been so much fun. Thank you, Sarah, for being a part of this. I could not do it without you, because you are so much cooler than I am.
We both know that's not true.
And I know that we're gonna stay in touch, and we're gonna be working again. So this is not an end. This is not an end. It's just a close to one chapter. And
it's an evolution.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of DC TV shows coming down the pike. I'm excited to enjoy them, and I know that we're going to be talking about it with each other, and I want to thank the listeners for all of their support over the years. This has been an incredible journey. Wow.
It's dusty in here, Ed. It's getting dusty.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone, and especially Bill Sweeney for just hanging around Comic Book Jones, and hanging out afterwards while I was doing a podcast with those crazy guys. And when I started emailing, sending emails to Bill constantly, he wasn't annoyed. He actually invited me to visit him, to be on the Wicked Theory podcast, and then to let me kind of just take over and become part of that, and build out this was originally a segment on that show, and then to encourage me to get together with Sarah and build this. He's the person who brought us together, and that's why he's the executive producer of the show. And
and the funny thing is, we didn't know each other that well. I knew Bill a little better because I'd been on the Preacher podcast a couple of times, and I knew Agent Palmer a little bit, but Ed and I hadn't had as much interaction just going into this. So it's sort of funny when I think about how that dynamic evolved over the years.
Yeah, and how seamlessly things have come together. Yeah,
like butter. I mean.
Oh, all right.
Well, we could do this for another 20 minutes, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that.
yeah, it's time to say goodbye. So that's the DC TV report. For now. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at Little Eddie O'Hare.
And I'm at Sara Netzley, SaraNetzley.
And follow the show on Twitter at DCTV Report. Send along your emails to dctv@wickedtheory.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our show on your podcast app of choice and rate and review us. That helps people find us. Check out our sister show, the Wicked Theory Podcast, and the soon-to-becoming aspiring professional fanboy.
Yay!
This has been a Wicked Theory Studios production. Executive producer, Bill Sweeney. Visit us at wickedtheory.com. Shazam, everybody.
Shazam!
Shazam!